It's truly extraordinary what we can accomplish when we communicate.
Find tools that make it easier for you. Now, what should be discussed? Number one, who's going to be the trustee? Ideally, you will have chosen one or more of your kids, and if not, somebody else, that's fine. There's no rule that it has to be your kids. But who's going to play what role? Who's going to be the trustee? Who may be named in the advance directive? Healthcare decision making can be different. So it isn't always one kid is going to be doing absolutely everything. Maybe you've set up trust for the kids, and who's going to be the trustee? Best that they should not be surprised by what happens. That's just not a good thing generally. The distribution plan. Should you tell them who's going to get what? Well, if it's simple and everybody's getting an equal share, perhaps that does make it easier, and you say that if that's the case. Your trust controls assets that are in the trust. You may have retirement assets that are not controlled by the trust. So just be cognizant that for a moment here, I'm really focusing on the trust, the planning that we would typically do for you. So on the issue of the distribution plan, you may not be leaving everything in equal shares to the kids. And if you're not, it's particularly important that they know that it's your decision and why you did it. You don't want to leave a legacy of anger between the kids. So if they don't hear it from you, so they know that it's your decision and why, they could blame each other after you're gone. And that would be, a really terrible, terrible thing. They should know in advance, not all the details, but take responsibility for the decisions that you're making about the distribution plan.
Surprises are bad when it comes to estate planning. That people worry about family conflicts. They worry about one kid getting mad at the other. That usually happens when there's no communication ahead of time. Surprises lead to conflicts. I think that's actually a really important way to think about this. Not that every family, and actually, Mike, why don't you bring up just the issue of, we recommend that families talk about this, but a lot of families, maybe there's some strained relationships, maybe communication isn't so good. So this isn't a one-size-fits-all approach.
This aspect of the work that we do is arguably more counseling than legal, right? Because we're talking about how you're going to work things out in the family. If you're going to do something unique, out of the ordinary, again, can't overemphasize taking responsibility for it. We have so many stories, we're not going to go through any of them today, where again, as Mark mentioned, if there's a surprise, somebody gets really angry. And that's when they might want to challenge what you've done, God forbid. And by the way, if you're making any significant charitable bequests, I think that's a good thing to tell your kids about so that they don't have an expectation that they're going to get everything when in fact they're not. Another major issue is health care planning. What if you want to age in place and stay at home? That can cost an enormous amount of money. What role are the kids going to play? Do you envision one of them giving you care at home? Probably not, but that comes up all the time. What if you learn through discussions that one of your kids vehemently disagrees with something you've said in your advance directive about end-of-life planning? This doesn't come up often, but when it comes up, it's a huge deal. You need to know if you have a kid, for example, who may object to whatever decisions you're making for religious reasons, whatever reasons there may be. And there are ways we can address that to reduce the possibility of conflict down the road. Tax planning. My goodness, if there's any area where multi-generational planning comes into play, it's tax planning. We talk a lot about Proposition 19, the desire to keep the house and other property in the family. You have to involve your kids if we're going to do proactive planning to avoid the horrific outcome of this new property tax law here that we have in California. So it's got to be discussed, got to find out, do the kids want to keep the house in the family? If so, one kind of planning makes sense. If they're going to sell it after you're gone, a different kind of planning makes sense. So knowing what your kids' wishes are, what their plans are, you raising it with them, that will guide a lot of the planning that you do. Isn't this self-evident? These issues are just below the surface. We kind of know they're there, but putting them on the table, such a service we'll be doing for everybody. If you are creating trusts to hold assets for the benefit of your kids, let your kids know. We always recommend these dynasty trusts. We call them family protection trusts for your kids, which means your kids are not going to inherit anything directly. Well, that's a good thing. They're going to control the money. It's protective. Let them know. If there's a special needs situation in the family, everybody knows, but let them know what the structure is, how it's going to operate, what a special needs trust means and what it does. And, we have our book that explains all of this if you do have that in the family.
Yeah, we have many clients will use attorney meetings with us, though, to do this, to have these discussions. So just to add, for all of these, you have the family talk at home, but we have many clients who we have a peace of mind program. If you're an existing client, you're probably aware of that for people who want to stay in regular touch with us. They'll meet with us every year, and they will often bring in their kids from wherever their kids are. Zoom, it's easy. And they'll have those family meetings to go over a lot of this where we can help frame it. But the key, and I think I just want to make this so clear, is that we should talk about this whenever possible. One thing I would add about good times to do this can be around the holidays sometimes, having
good
like
point.
family meetings to reflect on where you are, to have gratitude for what you have, and to talk about this. I think family holidays are also great times where everybody's in there in person, because I think in person is always better if we can do that. And if you want to meet with us, very easy to do it. Gilfix.com, 650-493-8070. Please spread the word, subscribe to our channel, comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment. Let us give us a question there as well. As my mom likes to say, hope everybody stays safe, sane, and healthy. Mike, any final thoughts?
Let's be sane and talk and embrace the good things that are going on in our lives.
Absolutely. Well, take care, everybody. We will see you next time.